Welcome back to How to Souls. My name is Rach and today we're going to look at the starting classes of Elden Ring. For those who've played a lot of Dark Souls, etc., you're probably thinking, I know what these mean, I know what to expect, but if you look a little closer, they are definitely more than meets the eye. Coming up first, we have the Vagabond class, a knight exiled from their homeland to wander, a solid armor-clad origin. So this is your standard sort of knight warrior, starts with heavy armor. You're not going to be doing any fast rolls with this heavy boy. You've got the Vagabond Knight armor, which does weigh a lot, but it provides you a lot of protection right from the start. The Vagabond starts with a longsword and a halberd, so you have two different melee weapons, one with quite long range to play with right from the start. And you can see what more suits your style. The Vagabond also starts with a heater shield, very good shield, 100% physical block, quite light, great stability, really good to get you started against some of the game's initial bosses. They're quite tanky and they do start off with really good stats and armor, or if you're not planning to invest in any kind of spells or incantations. Players looking to level in even stat spread between sort of health and endurance as well as a bit of strength and dex, maybe try out some quality weapons, have a good sort of range of options for weapons to use, are going to want to seriously consider the Vagabond. Next on our list is the Warrior, a nomad warrior who fights wielding two blades at once, an origin of exceptional technique. So I find it very interesting they've decided to call this character the Warrior. The Warrior is a sort of staple of Dark Souls, and it looks a little different in Elden Ring. So the Warrior in Elden Ring starts with dual wielding two scimitars. So this is, if anyone enjoyed the twin blades in Dark Souls 3, this is your class here. So if you don't see yourself blocking much, and instead you want to play around with jump attacks, breaking guards, and just running around like a dual wielding maniac, the Warrior is going to dish out serious damage with these twin blades and its 16 dexterity. You do start out with a decent medium weight armor set, which is going to protect you better than the average cloth, but is not as tanky as, say, the Vagabond armor. However, I would recommend, if you do pick the Warrior, to concentrate just on that dual wielding and your power stance with your scimitars. Next on the list is our hero, a stalwart hero at home with a battle axe, descended from a Badlands chieftain. The hero starts with the highest strength value of any of the starting classes. The hero starts with a battle axe and a large leather shield, the latter of which only does have a 75% block value, so you're mainly going to be looking at two-handing that axe for damage. The hero's armor set is surprisingly robust considering how little skin it actually covers, which means it has little weight, but high defense and resistance. Next down the list is the Bandit class, a dangerous bandit who strikes for weak points, excels in ranged combat with bows. So this is like our thief class from Dark Souls. It starts off with a little dagger, a bow, some arrows, and a buckler. So the thief is going to look at concentrating on critical attacks, on being stealthy, getting backstabs, and taking enemies out from afar with the bow. In this game, there's a lot of different options available in the way of like arrows, crafting your own arrows. You can make fire arrows to blow up explosive battles, sleep arrows to take out enemies as crowd control, and because this game does have stealth, it is a really powerful option. However, you will find the first few bosses probably quite tricky with this build. The Bandit has a medium armor set which will provide adequate defense, however you are going to want to focus on dodging and stealth. With a decent amount of dexterity and a huge amount of arcane, the Bandit is an interesting class. Definitely one that's going to be very strong for making its way through areas, but it will struggle on bosses. Moving on to the magic classes, we then have the Astrologer, a scholar who reads fate in the stars, heir to the school of glintstone sorcery. The Astrologer in this game is a mage. You're going to want to pick the Astrologer if you know you're going to go into pure sorcery. It does start out with a staff and two glintstone sorceries to get you started, but also a short sword for when you want to close the distance in melee and save some mana. However, with a starting stat of 16 intelligence, this is the optimal character to choose if you plan on leveling intelligence a lot. 15 mind will get you a decent amount of mana from the start, but if you are focusing on sorceries, you will want to level that extensively. Your Astrologer's armor set will not provide you much defense, but it will allow you a fast roll if you do get into trouble, because you are not wanting to be anywhere near enemies because of your low vigor. Spells are incredibly powerful in this game and they will trivialize a lot of bosses. However, do not forget about leveling up your vigor and endurance a little if you are struggling with taking some hits or being able to avoid them. And then we have the Prophet, a seer ostracized for inauspicious prophecies, well versed in healing incantations. The Prophet class is for those looking to level up faith in this game. Faith is what you'll use for incantations and for pyromancy, so that is offensive and defensive spells. You'll start off with a finger seal equipment which can cast heal as well as catch flame pyromancy. You get a short spear and a pretty rubbish shield to get you started in melee also. The good thing is with the spear is that it does allow a little bit of range. You don't have to get too all up in everybody's business, and you can sort of stay back, cast your pyromancies, and stay relatively safe. The Prophet's armor set is a light armor set and will not provide much defense at all. So you are going to want to be quick on your feet. Maybe replace that shield very early on if you're going to cope with what this game has to throw at you. The Prophet does have the most faith out of any of the starting classes, so it is an optimal choice if you are planning to go purely down the faith route. Again, as with the Astrologer, magic is incredibly powerful in this game, and having options on how to handle different bosses and scenarios is going to be the most powerful way to go about things. A solid choice for those looking for pure utility. Then we have the Samurai. A capable fighter from the distant land of reeds, handy with a katana and longbows, which is just what the samurai starts with. Starting with an uchigatana in this game is incredibly overpowered for the samurai, as well as that longbow. As I mentioned before with the bandit, bows in this game with their different arrows are incredibly powerful, very versatile, and a great utility for clearing out camps of enemies. You'll start with 2 different kinds of arrows for your longbow, as well as that uchikatana, which does have a bleed effect on it. A lot of enemies in this game are weak to bleed, so a couple hits from your katana will slice off a huge amount of their health. As well as all this, the samurai's protective armor not only looks fantastic, but it also provides very good defense. You might want to take off the helm though if you don't want to be too heavy. With a very even stat spread around the melee stats, the samurai is a very, very solid choice for those who want to concentrate on melee with a bit of range but without focusing on spells. Not right at the start anyway. The Samurai really is a solid class, especially for Soulsborne veterans. However, newcomers may very well enjoy the style also. We then have the Prisoner, a prisoner bound in an iron mask, studied in glintstone sorcery, having lived among the elite prior to censoring. So the Prisoner, much like the Astrologer, is going to excel in sorceries. It has a decent amount of intelligence as well as a decent amount of dexterity. Dexterity in this game does improve casting speed, so your Prisoner is a perfect base for those looking to go into a spell sword type build. That is, mixing melee with magic combat. Using your magic to buff your sword will provide incredible results, as well as having different utility spells to keep you exploring for longer and dying for less. The Prisoner starts with the magic glint blade sorcery, which has a little homing missile after a few seconds or two. So if you were interested in using spells but don't want to purely limit yourself to them, then the Prisoner is a solid base for you. Perhaps a little trickier to build initially due to the stat spread, in the late game a Prisoner class will be well equipped to face anything. Our penultimate class is the Confessor, a church spy adept at covert operations, equally adept with a sword as they are with their incantations. So much as the Prisoner was to the Astrologer, the Confessor is to the Prophet. So dabbles in faith, however, does have a solid melee base to lean back on. The wording here really does sound like they want you to go into some kind of stealth with this character. However, they don't give you a longbow or a dagger or anything that really implies that you're going to want to be stealthy with this character. I more see it as like a paladin class, where you do have incantations such as the urgent heal spell to get you started. But with that broadsword and that even stat spread, this is a class that is going to mix melee with utility incantations. The Confessor starts off with the Blue Crest Heater Shield, which is another 100% physical block shield. A very, very good starting equipment, as well as a pretty cool armor set in the Confessor set. And last and certainly least, we have the Wretch. A poor, purposeless sod, naked as the day they were born. A nice club is all they have. So you can definitely tell from the wording here that Fromsoftware have built this character as sort of like the joke character. There is always a deprived, a naked class, a level 1 class in these games, and this game's is the Wretch. So you do start at level 1 with a perfectly even stat spread of all stats at 10. The Wretch, although providing a very, very difficult start to the game as they literally have nothing but a club, does provide the most efficient base for min-maxing in this game. Which means because we're level 1 and all our stats are 10, by the time we get to level 100 we can have the most perfectly built character that we like, depending on what stats we choose to go into. Truly a blank slate, and truly for the insane, but one day, maybe, it'll be the most rewarding. With enough patience, and probably a lot of death. And that is your 10 starting classes for Elden Ring. All very different, all very unique, all very situational amazing. There is no wrong answer here, but hopefully I was able to help you realize which is the perfect one for you. Which class did you end up starting with? I personally went for the Astrologer. I really love magic in these games, and the new spells are always so exciting to try out. Let me know what you went with in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe for more Elden Ring videos as well as all types of Souls games. Arise, Tarnished, and I'll see you in the next video.